Hey friends, and welcome back to A Simple Truth. Now we are in 2 Kings, and we're also following that parallel track in 2 Chronicles as well. And today that puts us at 2 Kings 14. So 2 Kings 14 and 2 Chronicles 25. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And we've been following, again, all that lineage of Israel and Judah and just following those lines. And it's written really cool in that it tells us, hey, here's this king, he's been a ruler in Judah for 15 years. Okay, and then on Israel's side, it says, hey, 3 years into this guy's reign, this guy became king. Okay, and he reigned in Israel for 20 years. And then it hops back to Judah and says, hey, okay, that king was in power for that long, and in his reign, 4 years into his reign, this guy became king in Judah. So you can really follow along what lineage that looks like. And then at the beginning of each of those sections, it tells you again, like we've been seeing, hey, so-and-so's son became king. Okay, his reign's over. Now he has taken place. So what we're going to see is, we saw yesterday Joash and his repair of the temple, but then also his fall later in life and the pride and listening to his counsel, just bad counsel, and becoming susceptible to that and therefore having pride. And that downfall. What we're going to be looking at today, Amaziah, king of Judah, and then also Jeroboam II. So if you remember Jeroboam, the king of Israel, he is kind of I don't even know what you want to call it. He is the comparison line for all the other kings. So as you've been hearing for all these kings of Israel, if they don't continue in the way that God wants them, they say that they did not do as God wanted. They continued in their sins just like Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Well, this guy's Jeroboam too, so a descendant of him. So we will see how it goes for him. Again, 2 Kings 14. In the second year of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, became king. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. Yet, not like his father David, he did everything as his father Joash had done. However, the high places were not taken away, and the people still sacrificed and burned incense on the high places. Now it happened, as soon as the kingdom was established in his hand, that he executed his servants who had murdered his father the king. But the children of the murderers he did not execute, according to what was written in the book of the law of Moses, in which the Lord commanded, saying, Fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their fathers, but a person shall be put to death for his own sin. He killed 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Salt, and took Selah by war, and called its name Joktheel to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us face one another in battle. And Jehoash, king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, the king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as a wife. And a wild beast that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have indeed defeated Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Glory in that, and stay at home. For why should you meddle with trouble so that you fall, you and Judah with you? But Amaziah would not heed. Therefore Jehoash, king of Israel, went out. So he and Amaziah, king of Judah, faced one another at Beth Shemesh, which belongs to Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his tent. Then Jehoash, king of Israel, captured Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, the son of Ahaziah, at Beth Shemesh. And he went to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and silver, all the articles that were found in the house of the Lord, and in the treasuries of the king's house, and hostages, and returned to Samaria. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, his might, and how he fought with Amaziah, king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Jehoash rested with his fathers and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. Then Jeroboam, his son, reigned in his place. Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel. Now, the rest of the acts of Amaziah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And they formed a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. Then they brought him on horses, and when he was buried at Jerusalem with his fathers in the city of David. And all the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. He built Elath and restored it to Judah after the king rested with his fathers. In the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, became king in Samaria, and reigned 41 years. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin. He wrested the territory of Israel from the entrance of Hamath. He restored the territory of Israel from the entrance of Hamath to the sea of Arabah, according to the word of the Lord God of Israel, which he had spoken through his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet, who was from Gath-hepher. For the Lord saw that the affliction of Israel was very bitter, and whether bond or free, there was no helper for Israel. And the Lord did not say that he would blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, but he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, the son of Joash. Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, and all that he did, his might, and how he made war, and how he recaptured for Israel from Damascus and Hamath what had belonged to Judah, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Jeroboam rested with his fathers, the kings of Israel. Then Zechariah his son reigned in his place. And 2 Chronicles 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoaddan of Jerusalem, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a loyal heart. Now it happened, as soon as the kingdom was established for him, that he executed his servants who had murdered his father the king. However, he did not execute their children, but did as it is written in the law of the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded, saying, The fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall the children be put to death for their fathers, but a person shall die for his own sin. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together, and set over them captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, according to their fathers' houses, throughout all Judah and Benjamin. He numbered them from 20 years old and above, and he found them to be 300,000 choice men, able to go to war, who could handle a spear and shield. He also hired 100,000 mighty men of valor from Israel for 100 talents of silver. But a man of God came to him, saying, O king, do not let the army of Israel go with you, for the Lord is not with Israel, not with any of the children of Ephraim. But if you go, be gone, be strong in battle. Even so, God shall make you fall before the enemy, for God has power to help and to overthrow. Then Amaziah said to the man of God, But what shall we do about the 100 talents which I have given to the troops of Israel? And the man of God answered, The Lord is able to give you much more than this. So Amaziah discharged the troops that had come to him from Ephraim to go back home. Therefore their anger was greatly aroused against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. Then Amaziah strengthened himself, and leading his people, he went to the valley of Salt, and killed 10,000 people of Seir. Also the children of Judah took captive 10,000 alive, brought them to the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, so that they were all dashed in pieces. But as for the soldiers of the army which Amaziah had discharged, so that they would not go with him to battle, they raided the cities of Judah from Samaria to Beth-horon, killed 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. Now it was so, after Amaziah came from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the people of Seir, set them up to be his gods, and bowed down before them, and burned incense to them. Therefore the anger of the Lord was aroused against Amaziah, and he sent him a prophet, who said to him, Why have you sought the gods of the people, which could not restore their own people from your hand? So it was, as he talked with him, that the king said to him, Have we made you the king's counselor? Cease, why should you be killed? Then the prophet ceased and said, I know that God has determined to destroy you, because you have not done this and not heeded my device. because you have done this and not heeded my advice. Now Amaziah, king of Judah, asked advice and sent to Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come, let us face one another in battle. And Joash, king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as wife. And a wild beast that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. Indeed, you say that you have defeated the Edomites, and that your heart is lifted up to boast. Stay at home now. Why should you meddle with trouble, that you should fall, you and Judah with you? But Amaziah would not heed, for it came from God, that he might give them into the hand of their enemies, because they sought the gods of Edom. So Joash, king of Israel, went out, and he and Amaziah, king of Judah, faced one another at Beth Shemesh, which belongs to Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his tent. Then Joash, the king of Israel, captured Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, at Beth Shemesh, and he brought him to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and silver and all the articles that were found in the house of God, with Obed-Edom, the treasures of the king's house, and hostages, and returned to Samaria. Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Amaziah, from first to last, indeed are they not written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel? After that time Amaziah turned away from following the Lord. They made a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. Then they brought him on horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. Sorry, tongue-tied today. I think what stood out to me with that, just as I was looking at it, is that you have Jeroboam the second, and I always think that's interesting, just because I'm not really a second or a third. I'm not Andrew the second, but we have a very clear lineage here, and I look at that and I'm like, oh, we kind of have another chance. We kind of have another chance for this leader, this king, to do right by the country, and more importantly, right by God. And that does not happen. But it is interesting, though, because it's a good reminder for me that I had a great, great, great father. My father is awesome. If I can give my daughter half the life that my father gave us, as well as pointing her to God, as well as my father pointed me to God, I will be incredibly happy. But I think when it comes down to it is it matters. It absolutely matters. Having a strong father figure matters, but really, truly, my father is Jesus. My father is God, and that's the father that I should be looking to. And the good news with that is that is the ultimate role model is Jesus. He is the pillar, the foundation of what that should look like. So even if you don't have a good relationship with your father, you can still do good for the next generations. You can do very good for yourself. That doesn't mean life will be easy necessarily, but it does mean that it can be very good and holy for both yourself and to help rear your children in the right way. So that just stood out to me. I was like, oh man, we have another chance here. It didn't go well, but yeah, so that's what I took away from today. As always, friends, thanks so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and see ya.